Joining us on the show right now is two-time NBA All-Star Jerry Stackhouse. Stack, welcome to the show.
Thanks, man. Thanks for having me.
All right.
Hey, Jerry, I know that you're a singer. You like to sing. You're very good. Are you an NSYNC fan, man? Were you upset as I was to see NSYNC getting to perform more?
Not really. I'm not gonna lie. Not really.
All right.
Jerry was like, bye to that.
Hey, he's just being honest. I like it, man. I like it. So, Jerry, what have you been up to this summer? And, you looking to play another season in the NBA? What's going on?
No, I don't know, man. I'm pretty much maybe done, man. I think almost a decade, 18 years of doing it, but the knees are getting creakier and creakier every season. But, I still enjoy getting out there and competing with the guys. So I don't really know what the future holds right this moment. I got a lot of options, and it's almost, when you have a lot of options, it's almost like not having any. You don't know which one to do. So that's kind of where I'm at right now.
All right.
Now you're working, one of those options, I guess, is working with the union, right? I mean, Adam Silver's going to be taking over. I think that you, Chris Paul, a lot of the players are in position now to really grow the game and take it to different levels that it kind of wasn't in the past. What is some of the things that you guys are looking forward to accomplishing maybe during the season or as soon as possible?
I think more so than anything, just getting more engagement from our players and making sure they're informed. I think a lot of times the guys were, and all of us are guilty of it, just not being as engaged during the course of the season because of the rigors of the season and the schedule, dealing with all that. And then all of a sudden you want to pick up interest when it's collective bargaining time, and we're always kind of behind the eight ball. So we got to find a way to get more guys involved, aware of the business of basketball, and understand that, the decisions that we make are going, affect the guys that's coming behind us. And that's why we're here. I mean, I've been able to, play the game for a long time and earn a lot of money because of the people that came before me, and I'm making sure that I do the same thing for these young guys coming behind.
And now the young guys, that's kind of how we sort of operate this show, in that we try to give those retired players who, haven't been in the league in a long time or are not connected to the game. We try to keep fans connected with those guys, because a lot of times the only time you hear about former players is like for negative stuff, right? Like when they go bankrupt or whatever, that's the only time that they make the news. So you're trying to maybe like start early and then let them know, like, hey, these are some of the pitfalls when you're not making this money anymore.
Yeah, definitely. We got to try to find a way to embrace our retired players, because they're still a part of our union. They're still a part of our association. And and on the flip side, we got to start getting guys early. I think we got to find a way to get involved with more of the AAU programs and be a outlet, an avenue for those kids as well, so you can start getting the message to them early, where by the time they're in college, they're already hearing, some of the things about the pitfalls that comes with, playing this game at this level, and, understanding some of the financial literacy that comes with, with this whole program, man, because the numbers, I don't know if the numbers are true, but they're staggering when you talk about guys that lead the game and what type of shape they're, not just in basketball, but across sports in general. So I think it's almost an epidemic across sports as a whole.
Right.
Yeah.
And now, Jerry, you got this week Allen Iverson, Tracy McGrady, pretty much they're calling it careers as well. And, Allen Iverson kind of making some headlines with some bad things. And, you being his former teammate, you played with him. I mean, this guy, obviously, he's been through a lot in his career, being in the media for some things. But you know him. You've played with him. What's the deal? What really goes on and stuff?
Well, I think, I played with him, and I think he has the biggest heart, one of the biggest competitors that I've ever known, one of the most freakish athletes that I've ever known. Mm-hmm. But, I just think some of his, choices off the court, and, I think he would be a great, advocate for young guys, because all of them look up to him and respect him so much from his talent on the basketball court, and that he could, find a way to get to the point where he could speak about some of the pitfalls. I think it would be huge, more so than anything that any of, the older guys can say, somebody they can really relate to and can say, this is some of the things that I've done and gone through, and these are some of the things that you need to try to avoid. But I think that, he deserves that. He deserves a way to make a big impact again. Obviously, his career was cut shorter than he wanted it to, but I think at the end of the day, he could still look back and say some of the choices and some of the decisions that he made helped, put him in that position. And I mean, it's sad, but it's the reality of how this game goes when they don't need you anymore. As long as they needed him to get 30 points and he was capable of getting 30 points, then
right.
you could live with some of those things. But as soon as you show a little chink in the armor where you can't do those things and you can't play at that level, then you become expendable. And I think that's a sad part of being a professional athlete, really.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. And I think Allen Iverson will be a real good spokesperson to kind of help some of these younger guys out. What you got all these videos and things of that nature and making it rain and that type of stuff. I think he would really help out. But we also had another one of our colleagues retire this year, Tracy McGrady. Tracy McGrady retired this year. I think you had a stint with him also. Can you talk about him as a person and how he was as a player and a teammate?
Yeah, I talked with Tracy just over the weekend. We texted back and forth because he's another one of those guys that I like to try to get into the fold of going back and speaking to these young guys. Because he's not so far removed that guys don't remember. He still played with them, and so a message for some guy that's been able to play 16 years in this league and been at all different levels. He's been a superstar level. He's been a guy that's come off the bench, and this past season he was probably the 15th man for the San Antonio Spurs, and still have value. And that's what guys fail to realize, that you have to evolve in this game to be able to stick around that long. You're not going to be the same superstar you were when you first came in, or early on in your career, all the way through if you're going to last anything. And being able to adjust and accept that reality, can bode well for you having some longevity. But I think he's absolutely one of the top players that I played against, on the wing position, being able to put the ball on the floor, pretty much a point guard in the really small power forward's body. So, I just think he's one of those guys that, injuries definitely derailed his career, but hopefully, when they really put his body to work, that he has a chance, and maybe because of his high school career and everything, maybe have a chance to be in the Hall of Fame. I truly believe he has that ability.
So you definitely think, but how about both these guys being future Hall of Fame players?
Yeah, I think Allen Iverson, without question. I just think it's not only just his exploits on the basketball court, but how he kind of, transcended the game off the court, and really, made, little white kids want to have cornrows. So, when you're able to do that, you're pretty special. So I think he's absolutely first ballot Hall of Famer, and in my mind, Tracy is a Hall of Famer as well.
So that's T-Mac, that's AI. What about Stack? I mean, you're near the end of your career, or you may already be at it. You're not ready to take that step yet. But how do you want your legacy to be remembered? Scorer, great teammate, enforcer on the court. Nobody messes with Stack on the court. I mean, how do you want people to look back at your career and sort of be like, man, that's Stackhouse. He was blah, blah, blah. Well, what does that blah, blah, blah fill in as?
Well, no, I just think I was, I don't know, I guess for me, it's always about what somebody else feels, about how you perceive more so than really, perception is reality. So whatever I feel doesn't really matter as long as how people see me. But I will say that one of the best compliments that I feel like I've gotten out of my 18 career, even in my last season, I was talking to Roger Mason, who's been really pivotal in helping to move the Union forward as well, was just as he was talking to a teammate of mine, Keith Bogans, and, a guy who's been around, for a number of years himself, and he, said that I was the best teammate that he ever had, just being with me this year in Brooklyn. So I think those are the type of things that would last more so than any other aspect. I know I could score the best of them when I was healthy and in the prime of my career and competed at a high level as well. But just those type of things I think are really says who you are as a player, because the basket's gonna fade, but if you can be that guy and always know that you got your teammates back and they feel that way when they're out there on the court with you, I think that's the ultimate praise in my mind.
Yeah.
And now, let's go back 10 years ago. And this actually, first of all, Jerry, I'm a big fan of yours personally. I've been watching you since I started watching basketball. I didn't see you when you were on the Sixers, but when you were in Detroit, I've seen the 57 points, against the Chicago Bulls. Right then and there, I knew like you were the real deal. And I grew up a Wizards fan next to a Knicks fan. My uncle lives in D.C., went to a lot of Wizards games, and I got to see you play. I was really excited when I found out that you got traded to Washington because I knew I was going to be able to see you. And it was like a dream come true watching you and being out there on the floor. But I got to say, as a fan, and look, nobody's going to argue this, Michael Jordan is the greatest player of all time. 100% greatest player of all time. You're in your prime. You're playing unbelievable for Detroit. You come to Washington. Jordan comes out of retirement. And, I kind of felt like, in a way, he took away from you shooting a little bit. And obviously, he's Michael Jordan. He is who he is. And everybody has tremendous amount of respect. But for me, I was like, hey, Jordan's 40. Jerry Stackhouse is in his prime. I was hoping you'd get, a couple more touches here and there. I guess, it didn't necessarily happen. But, I mean, dude, it was so much fun watching you play for the Wizards. And, seriously, great talent.
It was a tough dynamic, man. Obviously, with Michael coming back to play and actually being part of management and things like that, it was a little bit of strain on everybody, but I mean, I understood it from his standpoint because as a basketball player and true competitor, you're gonna be competitive at no matter what stage of your career. Right. I think that he still felt like he was the guy, and like I said, I was in the prime of my career, so I think everyone kind of saw it, even though it was never said. I never really said anything about it, or he said anything about it.
Right.
That everybody could kind of feel it, So I mean, it was there and it was real. But I was, like I said, I was coming from Detroit, playing at a high level. Obviously, felt like we were close to a championship, and then coming over to Washington, it was like starting over again for me. So it was a little bittersweet, but the fact that I got a chance to play with one of my idols. Didn't have the success that I thought that we would, breed on the court, but I still look at that as a memorable moment in my career.
That's good. It's awesome.
Not everybody gets to play with MJ. A lot of the new guys, I'm sure they probably ask you and a lot, what was it like to play with MJ. I guess now that's kind of the same thing that's going on with LeBron being one of the best players. Yeah. He goes to Miami, teams up with Bosh and Wade, and the rest is history.
Yeah.
When you were in the prime of your career, like let's put, I don't know the time frame. Let's put like 99 to 05. Let's say where you were dropping I know you had one season like 28 to 29 points. If you had to team up with another two and have your own big three in that era, who would those two guys be for you?
That's a good one right there, man. I would say I played. I played with a lot of guys. I caught them at the end of their career. Like I said, I played with Grant Hill. If Grant Hill was healthy, I definitely put him on that team. And Jason Kidd. I think we had some pretty decent bigs and Bison Daly and some serviceable bigs at the time. But if I could have played with a healthy Grant Hill and Jason Kidd in his prime, I think that would have been real scary. I mean, I've had the fortune of playing with Allen Iverson, playing with Grant Hill, playing with Michael Jordan, playing with LeBron James, playing with Jason Kidd actually for later on in his career. But I think it would have been pretty sweet to be able to just run the court and know the ball's gonna get there without even thinking about it.
And it's too bad that I guess you're a year late because now Jason Kidd takes over the Nets. And he becomes the head coach. Is that going to be how is that going to be? He's not going into a rebuilding team that has all young guys and he can sort of mentor and they can look up to him. He's going in there with some pretty serious talent and legacies. I mean, he's got Garnett and Pierce and Terry. These guys, how is that going to work? It's like he just steps out from being a player into a coach. Do you think once they start to run into some trouble, there might be some second-guessing the coach and maybe Garnett challenges Kidd? How do you see that playing out in Brooklyn?
No, I think that's what the trend is becoming now. I mean, I think players are really starting to come to the forefront in the league again. I mean, I think coaches have been kind of, you saw all the coaches, even like Coach of the Year last year, George Starr gets fired. So coaches, there's been a lot of coaching carousel, but I think that what you're seeing with the blueprint is kind of what Mark Jackson did. He went and got the best supporting cast around him. He had great assistants. I think Jason did the same thing. He went and got, a guy who could very well be a head coach in Lawrence Frank, and he's going to be right there beside him to be able to pick him up, when maybe he's getting a little rattled or whatever. You just don't know what to expect with a guy who I don't think he's coached at any level. But I know he's smart. He understands the game, and he has a demeanor that I think will abide well with guys. So I don't think it's going to be a case. And a player like a Kevin Garnett, they're going to be conscious of the situation with him, and they're not going to want to rock the boat. They might rock the boat with each other. That's what I feel more about the Nets this year, just with the personalities they got, that they may have some clashing as players, but I don't think it will trickle to that, Ivan going at the coach. I don't think that's going to happen. And I think they're going to be really good, personally.
Yeah, for the East, they'll be really good for the East. Who you have coming out the East? Who you have coming out the West this year?
I mean, until Miami's beaten, I still feel like Miami's the team to beat, but I think they get a little more. They'll be tested more early on. I mean, because I think it's, Indiana, you feel like they're going to be better. Obviously, the Nets are better. The Knicks were right in the fray last year, so I think it's a lot of good teams. The West, everybody's talking about what the West is, but like the champions come out of the East the last two seasons. So until that changes, the power's still in the East.
I know that they're both injured. They're both coming off of injuries. I always thought when Pierce and Garnett were on, when they were still on Boston, and I guess sometime maybe last year or 2 years ago, if you swapped Rondo for Westbrook and you put Rondo on the Thunder and you have Westbrook on the Celtics, that to me would have been a perfect deal, because you have Westbrook on the Celtics, a guy that can take over the scoring load now that Pierce and Garnett are getting older, and he can sort of take over the franchise. And then you have Rondo in OKC to facilitate for Durant, to get Durant more touches, because it was, I guess, always a knock that Westbrook and Durant were kind of fighting for who's going to score, who's going to get more touches. I always thought that would have been a great deal. Now the Celtics obviously are rebuilding, and the rest is history for them. But I also agree that Miami, I think, is the team you can't go against them. But I actually think in the West, Golden State Warriors. I mean, you got a chance to play against them obviously last year. They're a young team. How good is Steph Curry, and how good can this team be, do you think, just from playing against them?
I think he's really good. I think he has a chance to be really special. That whole team, that young team, they're exciting. But I think I still see them. They're probably fifth in the West. Even as good as they were and good as they played last year. I mean, you got to still think that Houston may be better with Dwight Howard coming over.
Right.
I got OKC. San Antonio's still right there. Memphis with those bigs. And so, I mean, that's four teams right there that's still ahead of Golden State in my mind, with a couple other young teams. I mean, like the Lakers, they're probably an 8th seed now. They're gonna be battling with maybe Minnesota just to maybe get the 8th seed in the West now. So it's been a little turnover. And back to your point about Westbrook, and I mean that sounds good on paper, but you bring Westbrook over there with Paul Pierce, these guys are complaining with Rondo, and he's getting 16, 17 assists.
Right.
Yeah. So imagine with Westbrook who's coming in and taking looks. So I mean, you got to be careful what you wish for, man. I think they got a good group they learn how to play together. They won a championship in Boston, and I think they're on the verge of having a chance to do that in OKC with Westbrook. They missed him last year. As much as they want to talk about him, taking shots and crowding, crowding out. KD a little bit. KD was looking for him last year. Believe that.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
It sounds like there's a little GM in you, Jerry. Sounds like there's a little GM in there.
Something, man. I want to coach too. I mean, I think it would be. I mean, that was a dream situation. I think they kids fell into, man, to be able to come right off the court playing and go into a situation where you got a talented team that and support from ownership to do whatever it takes to get it done. That's I mean, that's a dream situation. So
yeah, it's just
might see me over there in a little bit.
just remember, it's not like a video game. Isaiah Thomas did that once. It's not the same thing. It doesn't work that way.
I'll keep that in mind.
I'm pretty sure that he knows.
I'm just guys. I'm just saying. But Jerry, before we let you go, I had to tell you your name, Stackhouse. It's perfect for showbiz, for opening up a restaurant. I mean, you could do a million things with that. I'm sure you knew this already, but in case you didn't know, I had to tell you.
Somebody already stole it from me, man. A guy down in Dallas when we opened up Stackhouse Burgers, and
Kyle and I
really good burgers down there in Dallas. Next time you go to Stackhouse Burgers.
Kyle and I were thinking, like Pancake House or something, like Stacks, Pancakes,
Flapjacks. Flapjacks.
Hey man, y'all come up with the business plan, raise the money, and just let me use my name on it. I'm with it all day.
I love it.
Wait, are you gonna do any of the cooking in the restaurant? You're a bit of a chef, right?
Hey man, I got skills now.
I know, man.
I'm a jack of all trades a little bit, but I enjoy it. I was on the grill a little bit this week, and so I flew in out the kitchen to the grill, man. I got that honest from my mom. My mom was a short order cook, raised us that way. So I learned how to fend for myself pretty early.
That's good.
I know you were a part of a large family. You were the youngest, I believe. Did you cook at all for the family? Was there any meals coming from Jerry?
Well, no, not really. I mean, at that time they were a lot older. I cooked a lot for myself coming up because my brothers, they were gone. But when it came to eating and stuff, I was a baby, so I always ate first. So it never came to the point where I missed any meals. But in fairness, all my brothers and sisters all are pretty skilled around the kitchen. So I got it honest.
All right, Jerry, it's been awesome having you on the show, and hopefully you come to a decision of what's the next step in your life and what you're going to be doing. But we wish you the best of luck with everything and hope to have you on again, in the future. Catch us up on everything.
I appreciate it, man. Thank y'all for having me.
All right.
Thanks, Jerry.
Take it easy, Stack.